Thanks, guys. I sat down with President Nikias to discuss the Village and all the new developments happening in the USC area. Take a look. Well, first of all, thank you, President Nikias, for being with us. We appreciate it here at the Morning Brew.
Thank you, Trevor, for inviting me to come to your show.
No, of course.
It's a pleasure. Thank you.
So, talking about the USC Village, it has been one of the hugest developments in Los Angeles.
Right.
Maybe in its history, at least over the past decade or so. What convinced you to take on this massive project?
First of all, let me say that the Village was the largest construction project, not only in the history of USC, but also in the history of South Los Angeles. So what we did here, we did it not only for the university, but also for our neighborhood. And the reason that we did it and we made this major investment is because, honestly, I felt, and that's the case I made to our Board of Trustees, that it was a great opportunity to turn our university into a fully residential university. And I like to refer to the Piazza of the Village as the place where the Ivory Tower meets the town square, which means that you have people from the university, our students, faculty, staff, but you also have our neighbors mixing up and hanging out with the university community.
Mm-hmm. Now, when the Village is finally completed, what was your most proud moment?
Oh, the most proud moment was the erection of Hecuba, the Queen of Troy, because I felt very strongly from the beginning that we needed a symbol of Troy that will reflect the gender equality, but also the diversity of our university community, because that's the USC of the 21st century. And therefore, I personally believe that we have achieved that with Hecuba. If you carefully look at the cylindrical base of Hecuba with the 6 different women faces, each one of them is representing a different ethnic background, and therefore that represents the gender, but also the diversity of our community. Mm-hmm. And finally, Tommy Trojan has his equal part, which is Hecuba, the Queen of Troy.
Yeah, no, of course. So you mentioned like the Village being like a place where the community could come together. What do you think 10 years from now the Village's biggest effect on the community is going to be?
Oh, the biggest effect is that it integrates our neighborhood better with our campus and the USC community. Because Trader Joe's, I have to tell you, I hear that the success of Trader Joe's is 150% of what they originally projected. And it isn't just because our students or faculty or staff go there for shopping, but also our neighbors go there for shopping. And Target is the other one that is very popular, especially with the neighborhood. So this is what I was always hoping for, and it's happening sooner than we think, that the Village Piazza with the shops, the restaurants, the retail, integrates our neighborhood with our university community.
Mm-hmm. Now, you know, I've noticed there's still some empty spots in the Village. There's still some things being constructed. What's the holdup there?
Well, honestly, I didn't want the total construction with the community benefits to exceed $700 million. And that's why you see a lot of green space on the Village. We could have added a few more residential colleges. However, I have to tell you, we do have in the planning phase, although it's very early, that if we were to build on the green space in the back of the Village, we could easily accommodate another 1,000 students. And therefore, I asked our Vice President for Construction and Facilities Management to begin the planning, so at least we do some cost estimates to keep in mind moving forward.
So there is at least a general idea to build more and house more students.
Yes, Yes.
Interesting.
Yes.
Interesting. But what about like some of the restaurants, like Rock and Riley's, for example? It's sitting there, and I know they had a bunch of construction on it. They sent out an email to everyone saying they were going to use jackhammers. Is that just taking a little bit longer than expected, or?
Yes, it does. Unfortunately, we faced a delay with them beginning the construction inside and prepare it. But we hope in the next 3 months that they're going to be up and running. At least that's what I'm told. Everybody else is pretty much up and running. We are at 85% capacity in the retail, coffee shops and restaurants. So it's coming along together. Yeah.
Now, with all of these spots, what's your favorite?
Oh, my favorite one. Oh, my goodness. I haven't finished going to try all the restaurants. However, I'm a little bit biased. The Cava Cava is the one that serving the Mediterranean cuisine food. I have to tell you, for the quality of the food that you get, is very inexpensive. And but I've been to the others. The Wahlburger, I went to the tacos place I really liked, but I still have to visit the Korean barbecue and the Italian restaurant. Yeah.
Now, what do you like most about the Village besides Hecuba and all the restaurants in there?
What I like the most is the configuration inside that we have for the residential colleges. Because at the end of the day, yes, it was all about the students building the residential colleges. The private courtyards that you see on the second floor or even on the ground floor for some of them. That one clearly is a very nice feature. The configuration in the rooms. So, and also the study rooms for the students on each one of the floors. Because as you know, Trevor, most of the students, they like to study in those rooms. They don't like studying in their own bedrooms. And so those are really very nice features that we have. And I have to say, it meets the needs of our students very nicely.
Mm-hmm. Now, at the commencement of the Village, back last semester, beginning of the year, you said, this gives us 1,000 years of history we don't have.
Yes.
Now, that was a widely critiqued phrase.
I know.
What do you mean by that?
Well, what I mean by that is that the looks of the Village with collegiate Gothic, Italian Romanesque architecture, which has become the brand look of our campus for most of our buildings, clearly represents a different era going back 1,000 years in Europe. And therefore, that's why I use the line that it gives us 1,000 years of history we don't have. Actually, Los Angeles doesn't have.
That's fair.
Right. However, if I may, the looks, and that's why I've been promoting those looks, is a constant reminder for all of us as a university community that the modern university, the current university, is the brainchild of the Renaissance movement. It was during the Renaissance movement that we saw the rebirth of higher education as we know it today. It has evolved over a number of years or throughout centuries, the last 500, 600 years. But in many ways, we're still the brainchild of the Renaissance movement. And I believe the looks of the Village is a reminder of that.
Now, some people have critiqued those looks, like with the inside being more modern, the
very
outside
modern,
being more, back to this 1,000 years of history.
Right.
What do you say to that?
Well, I mean, people have opinions. I learned over the years to take criticism and also to respect others' opinions. But at the end of the day, it's a modern look inside because in some ways we are a modern university and we have many needs that we have to meet as a modern society, or the way we live and interact and so on with each other. But the outside looks, as I said, it's a reminder that we are a university being a brainchild of the Renaissance movement.
Now, what was your biggest challenge personally in getting this off the ground to the point where it is now?
It was only at the beginning, the original plan the university had before I became president. It was to lease the University Village space to a private developer to develop a shopping mall and student apartments. But it would have cost nothing, no money to the university. But I honestly felt from day one I became president that that would have been a big mistake, because this is our own land. It was a great opportunity for us to make the university fully residential by building residential colleges and programming the space as a residential college. Just being student apartments, you wouldn't have the courtyards, you wouldn't have the study rooms, you wouldn't have many other amenities that we offer. And therefore, I went out of my way to make the case to our board of trustees that we completely changed the plans. And of course, not only I presented them this new layout, which became the village that we know today, but I presented them the plan, how we're going to pay for it. And so that was the biggest challenge I faced at the beginning. But once we got through that, then everything worked out very nicely.
Mm-hmm. Now, moving outside of the village,
right,
to the upcoming Lucas Museum,
yes,
and the Coliseum renovations.
Right.
How are those going?
And the soccer stadium.
Yes,
don't forget
and the soccer stadium. And the soccer stadium.
Yes.
They just played their first game on Sunday.
Right, just finished.
Yeah. How are all of those going to affect the community?
Well, look at the three that we already mentioned, and the USC Village, the fourth one. If you add up the investments, we're talking about $2.4 billion. Can you imagine the jobs that have been created, the construction jobs? And of course, the Lucas Museum is an $1 billion investment, and probably more than that. So it's completely changing our neighborhood. And the upgrades for the Coliseum is long overdue. Nothing was done at the Coliseum since the Raiders left in 1994. And it's a monument. It's a monument for the city, but also for the state. And we are taking a good care of it by doing the upgrades. And it's the home of USC football, of Trojan football. But the Lucas Museum, it's going to be something else. It's going to be incredible. We're going to have many kids from K to 12 schools visiting almost on a daily basis. It will have an affiliation with USC. So we'll completely transform the entire neighborhood.
To the Lucas Museum, what is that affiliation with USC exactly going
to be?
It's
we're going to have a formal affiliation where there will be collaborative projects between our faculty and students. There will be opportunities for internships of our students in the museum.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Now, how will all of these three outside developments besides the village, you've talked about how they're going to affect the community. What about the students? How are students going to benefit from all of these?
Well, clearly the USC students, they will benefit greatly from the Coliseum when it's all said and done. Everybody's going to enjoy it. Actually, our neighbors are going to enjoy it too, because they host a lot of events there. And the museum is going to be something that all of us are going to be very proud of. That is literally across the street.
Now, with all of this upgrade and with all this new projects, gentrification has been a concern to many in the community. What is USC doing to alleviate those concerns?
Well, if you carefully look at our construction projects, including the village, we built it on our own land with our own money. So there was no household in the neighborhood that was pushed out. And the same thing for all the construction projects on Exposition Park. The Lucas Museum will be built on what used to be parking lots. As you know, the soccer stadium was built where the sports arena was. And the other big construction project, the upgrades of the Coliseum, again, nobody is being displaced in the neighborhood. So this is something that we care deeply, and we pay a lot of attention to this. And that's why if you carefully look at our construction projects, there are no households that have been displaced. And it's something that I'm going to pay attention to that moving forward.
Mm-hmm. Now, with going back a little bit to the Village and displacement of, I believe it was the 21 tenants or so that were in the old Village, only the Village Cobbler has come back, though.
Right.
Why is that?
Well, this is, it was never a promise everybody's going to come back exactly the same way, because we have a different configuration for the Village. The space for retail was limited. It's no longer a shopping mall. And we looked at our real estate office, looked at for vendors that they were going to meet the needs of our university community, but also of our neighbors. And unfortunately, there were certain shops that didn't come back. But when you have a big change like that, it's always, you would expect that this may happen.
Now, even going beyond the museum, the soccer stadium, the Coliseum renovations, what are the plans for, the future of Exposition Park and University Park as a whole? Well,
thank you for bringing that up, Trevor, because when I was provost of the university in 2005, 2006, what we faced back then is that the light rail came through Exposition Park. And we, as a university at the time, we wanted the light rail to stay underground and come out after you pass Vermont. So you don't divide on the ground the university campus from Exposition Park. And actually at that time, the university offered to pay for it, for the light rail to stay underground. But unfortunately, other political considerations with the MTA did not allow this to happen. And in my humble opinion, that was a big mistake, because we did not want to have like a Berlin Wall, which is the tracks, right, to be between Exposition Park and the university. And I'm not giving up on this idea. Probably we'll revisit it at the right time.
Final question. With all of these developments and just a massive, fundraising campaign and all of that stuff, what do you want your legacy to be here?
I think it's very simple. The thing that I'm most, there are two things if we speak about legacy. When people look back and when it's all said and done, I would like to see this university to be by far one of the academically elite and most influential universities in the world, period. But what I will be the most proud of that we have accomplished, it's the access, affordability, and outreach. That we provided access and we made USC education affordable to so many kids from all walks of life. Kids that they come from very challenging socioeconomic conditions. But because of the success of fundraising, we were able to make the USC education affordable to them. And the outreach is this close connection that we want with our neighborhood and the kids of our neighborhood through the Neighborhood Academic Initiative. That we are currently enrolling 1,100 kids, and we have a success placement rate for college 98 to 100%. So that's what I want to be part of my legacy.
Alrighty.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate you coming here today.
Thank you, sir.
I think that's about it for us. Once again, from everyone here at the Morning Brew.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, President Nikias. Once again, our thanks to President Nikias for joining us today and all of his continued hard work and effort at this university. For the Morning Brew, I'm Trevor Sochocki.